It's Fang's Garage.
I am pretty sick right now. I've been sick since I think Monday, and that's usually the day I start editing videos. Look at this shadow. Look at this shadow over my face. Should I get a tattoo like that? Just a line? Will I look like the guy from God of War? Do I look tough? This line on my face? Anyways, I've been pretty sick, so I have not been able to start editing the videos together, and also it's kind of something I'm running into a little bit of a snag. Working on the bikes and the projects and stuff is actually really hard to do with all this editing and whatnot that I have to do for these videos. So I'm trying to narrow it down. So I'm editing videos on Monday and Tuesday, and then maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at some point I'll get to work on the actual bikes. Right now, the progress with the CB750 has kind of come to a standstill. So this is the state of the garage right now. This is just like the rated G version of everything I can show you. The mess back here is like completely rated R. It's like despicably dirty. There's like gas tanks, there's air filters, there's pictures, there's all sorts of stuff that needs to be listed on eBay. This is like my eBay pile, and just organized. And look at that, another gas tank back there. I forgot I even had that. But this is the Ultima 127 project that I have been neglecting for the last like 6 months. I put a lot of work into this thing as far as like making the gas tank and everything. So this week's video, it's not going to be the CB750. It's not going to be the shovel head. Another thing I was going to say, the CB750. These are the carbs. They've been quote unquote rebuilt by me, which means they probably were better off just remaining dirty and not being touched by my hands. But this is the state of the carbs right now. So you like this rotating Harbor Freight display. This seat sucks. This thing broke like a week after I got it. Anyways, I rebuilt these things. It was a complete nightmare. This part in particular, this whole linkage thing, oh my gosh, what a mess. This is like a perfect example in my mind of something where it's like they were trying to do something advanced or something, and it was just so overly complex. I mean, it is truly a nightmare to try and rebuild these things if you didn't take like 7,000 pictures of what you were doing while you were taking it apart. I've watched multiple videos of how to rebuild these. I think they're called PD 41A carbs. It was just, even with the videos, it's still really hard to understand. And also it's just very hard because there's like a sequence you have to put everything in. You have to like put in this carb and then put in this throttle rail, and then like you have to say an incantation, draw these weird little things on the ground, put candles out, then assemble the next carb, and then there's some sort of sacrifice ceremony thing you have to do in order to put this one on, and then it's just a mess. It's like I mean, I'm sure all you CB750 guys are like, this guy is completely stupid, he does not know what he's doing, and you're right, I don't. That's why it's so hard for me. But I mean, I've rebuilt, this is my first set of 4 carbs that I've rebuilt like this, so it was pretty intense for me. I'm used to only 2 or 1, but yeah, this thing's all rebuilt. The only thing that I'm waiting on is the intake boots that go from the carburetor to the actual engine. So I ordered those and they are coming in the mail. So yeah, can't work on that right now. That's pretty much stuck. And yeah, I haven't even shown you guys this project yet, which is the Ultima. Right now, the goal of today is, besides just recovering, because I feel really crappy, but I'm going to kind of lumber around here, hopefully, and get some of this mess kind of cleaned up and make some room so I can pull this thing out and show you guys the state of it and what the plans are for it. Look at how I look disgusting right now. I am coughing so bad, and I am sweating I don't know if it's from coughing so bad or what. The other day, while working on stuff in the garage, I came across 2 praying mantis, which is pretty weird. I haven't seen a praying mantis in real life, basically for my entire life. And then I think 2 years ago, I found one in the garage and was hanging out with it. And I found it the next morning. He was like pretty much dead. I'd spent probably about 3 hours trying to get him to drink some water and stuff to revive him, but he didn't survive. But I have a jar of rubbing alcohol, and I put him in there so I could look at him, and I don't know. Is that any worse? Like, is that better? I'd prefer to sit there. I still enjoy looking at him. Like, otherwise he would have just decayed and went into the dirt and been forgotten. But I haven't forgot about that little mantis. And anyways, I found 2 of them the other day. And then the following day at work, randomly, there was another mantis sitting there looking at me. I tried to befriend it. But he didn't want to have anything to do with it, which is understandable. I have a lot of baggage. I wouldn't want to necessarily be friends with someone like me if given a choice. But if you're my friend already, too late. Oh gosh. God. Oh. Okay, thanks. Hopefully that thing stays. Yeah, I have got to clean some of this stuff out because it's getting a little hard to work on stuff. Also, something that is kind of hindering me, besides time and everything else, and being sick. I don't know, I feel like I have too many projects at this point. Right now, I have the CB750. I'll put an image of all these bikes. Some of them I don't even know if I have an image of them. CB750, the Yamaha Roadstar, the Shovelhead, the EX500, which is what these forks are from, the Ultima. I also have a 1988 Suzuki Savage that I'm going to be building for my friend as a memorial bike for my friend Matt. And then I also have a XS650 engine that is like rephased and has like a ton of upgrades to it. And that engine is just sitting in my parents' garage. So a lot of projects lined up. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep all these disgusting sick sound effects in there so you guys can tell how disgustingly sick I am. So yeah, I'm kind of stuck in the middle because right now I have a lot of stuff that I quote unquote need to work on, but there's things that are coming up, events that are coming up that are kind of, in my mind, dictating what I need to work on. So one of those events being Born Free 17. So I don't know if I've ever actually made a bike for Born Free and been successful at it. I've made a couple of bikes and I've wrecked them all, but I don't know if I've ever actually attempted and succeeded at building a bike for Born Free, just for the ride up there and whatnot, and had it be actually done. Usually I end up wrecking the bike or something shortly before the event. So yeah, while I'm cleaning this stuff out, it's probably a decent time to tell you guys how I came to possess the Ultima. Whoa, hold up. Wait a minute. Eesh. This is the one of the fork tubes for the EX500. 1990 EX500. This is what one of my friends, Michelle, gave this to me. Thank you, Michelle. I really like this bike. It's very fun. She gave me this bike, and I'm taking apart the forks right now to put some new fork seals in it. And part of the forks inside this fork tube right here, it's pretty much kind of standard for a lot of bikes, or same kind of idea. This piece right here, I don't know what this is called, dampening rod or something, who knows? You probably know, because you probably know more about this than I do, but I'm too lazy to go look at the name. This little cap, let me get a little closer. This thing goes inside the fork tube, and this little cap goes on the end here, and then a bolt goes in. Imagine this is sitting in the fork tube. Goes in like that, and then the bolt goes in through this bottom end right here. And I took this thing apart yesterday, or the other day, and this thing is all chewed up. All right here, 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 here. And then it's got all sorts of nick marks all over the bottom of it. So I'm not sure what exactly would cause that. Maybe when they were changing out the fork seals last time, they slammed it in there or something. I'm not sure. But that sucks. Maybe I'll be able to like kind of clean it up. It looks like it's kind of mushroomed out a little bit and rounded off, but maybe I can clean it up and maybe it'll be okay. I don't know. That's like 90% of the things that I start doing. I'm like, oh, well, maybe if I could just do this, it'll be fine. And then it's not fine. It's almost never fine. It's like 10 times harder than you thought it would be. That's like lately I've been realizing, like, if I tell my wife, like, yeah, 10, 15 minutes tops. I mean, this thing is pretty easy to replace. If I'm trying to replace a part on her car or something, 10, 15 minutes, that's like, it might be translated, those minutes might be translated into hours, depending on what happens. Got this gas tank recently. You'll probably see it on a swap vlog. Harley Davidson tank. I don't know what it's from, but yeah, $5. Couldn't pass that up. So my plan is to, oh great, I don't know where this came from. This spring, it looks rusty and it looks like it's probably from the CB750 or something, but I have no idea. I've played myself again, where I said, oh yeah, dude, you'll remember where all this stuff goes. It's like very simple. It's like exactly what I said about these carburetors. I said, oh dude, it's so self-explanatory when you really think about it. It's like this piece just easily connects on it. And then like 2 weeks later when I was looking at it, I was like, this is some black magic. Like, who could have designed it? It looks like it's like you have to have some kind of a engineering degree to even know what you're looking at. And so yeah, I do that stuff a lot. Play myself a lot like that. It can be fun. It can be exhausting. Sometimes that can be exhausting. Like, for example, the reason I'm down here on the floor right now, taking time to diligently look around, is because I played myself again multiple times. Like it was like a Inception play myself. I had this nice little organized tackle box full of just jets or jet related pieces for motorcycles. So idle jets, little gaskets and stuff. It was nicely organized. I spent probably a good 30 minutes. You know, I had to pick out the tackle box. I had to kind of, you know, section everything off so it was kind of organized. And then my fun side, the side of me that likes to play myself, like left it sitting like this, like, oh, don't worry, dude, you'll be cautious. It's right there. It's right out in the open. Something was happening. I was rushing out the door. I kicked this thing and it just flung the whole thing. It like was like a full rotation. If it was like someone diving in the Olympics, they would have thrown it a 10.
Joe and Stefan Fleck wants to get on with it. Forward 3.5.
Because they did so many rotations, except the freaking landing, all the jets flew all over the garage. So now I'm picking apart all these little tiny brass jets that I probably paid like, you know, maybe $5 a piece for at some point for like all these different bikes. I had ones for like bikes that I still have, bikes that I'm now working on. They're all just strewn about. So it's fun. Like, that's the kind of fun stuff I get into whenever I'm rushing around trying to do stuff. So yeah, I didn't want to really, I wanted to kind of switch things up, not make another SWAT vlog video, not necessarily make another CB 750 video, because I'm waiting on stuff I'm waiting on parts. I got this cool Iron Cross old school mirror at the swap meet. I might put this on the CB 750 because it's like very 70s era, and I think that's kind of what I'm gonna go for with that bike. Also, did you guys have these in your house as a kid? You remember this? The claw? I remember I had a red one, and then I also had a blue square one, and it had a magnet. It was just a standalone magnet. I think they sold them in a set, but I just recently got one of these from Harbor Freight. It has a magnet built into it, which I don't really like, but I don't know, something funny. I remember playing with this as a kid multiple times, like all the time actually. This and a meat tenderizer. Those are my two favorite toys as a kid. But now I still play with this, and I actually used it the other day and it was useful. I was able to fish this through a little area and grab a clump of wires and pull it through. Boom! Paid for itself. All right, I gotta stop lollygagging. This is getting to be too much. I'll tell you guys how I got this Ultima 127 for a pretty good deal. A couple of years ago, must have been maybe 9 years ago, I had a Honda Shadow 750. I think I had wrecked it, and I would drive by this guy's house over in my area, and I could see that he had a Honda Shadow 750 also, and it was just sitting in his yard. It was sitting out front. I recognized it right away, and I was like, dude, I wonder if that guy would ever sell that thing. And I kept looking at it every time I drive by for probably about 3 months. I was thinking maybe I would go knock on the door and ask him, but I just thought I don't really want to bother him. But one day I was looking on, I think it was Craigslist, and I saw it and I recognized it because I had driven by and stalked it so many times and considered like asking. I just didn't want to be one of those people that was like, I've gotten notes on my old truck like, hey, do you want to sell this? And I always it kind of annoyed me. But now I get it because people want those old cars and sometimes people want to sell them. But I found it on, I believe it was Craigslist. I emailed the guy a couple of times, and I knew exactly where it was at. It was literally about, I'd say about a 30-second drive away from my house. I would almost consider him to be like a neighbor. Of course, you want to consider someone to be your neighbor when you're attempting to buy a motorcycle from them. Yeah, I emailed him a few times, and then I was just like, man, he lives so close. I threw the ramps in my truck, had money in my pocket. I think he wanted $400 for it. I'd have to double check. On my old YouTube channel, I have a whole video of me attempting to start it and stuff. Anyways, I got it, or I got the money. I drove over there. And finally the guy emailed me back and said, hey, I'll be home at 3 o'clock, but someone else is interested. I said, okay. So I showed up at 3 o'clock and I was like, hey man, I was gonna see if I could check out the bike, kind of trying to snake it out from the other person, which is, I guess, considering it now, it's kind of slimy. But I was really eager to buy it. And the guy said, well, somebody else is supposed to come look at it. Are you the guy that emailed me? I said, you know, I emailed you. I said, but you had told me that somebody else was coming to look at it, and I lived right around the corner, and I just figured, you know, I'd come check and see if I could at least look at it or whatever. And the guy said, oh, okay, and he let me check it out and everything. And so he was kind of leaning towards he wasn't going to sell it to me. He said, yeah, you know, blah, blah, blah. It kind of stopped working. He said it stopped working on the freeway one day, and he got it towed home and never did anything with it. But I told him, I said, hey man, I said, if this guy flakes out, I said, I have the ramps in my truck. I said, I have the money in my pocket. I said, I'm willing to buy it right now. I said, if not, I live right down the street. I said, if he doesn't show up, I'll just buy it as soon as you decide it's too long to wait. And then he was like, you know what? The guy has already, he said he was supposed to meet me at 3, and he was supposed to meet me earlier today, and he's already flaked out on me 2 times. He said, if you got the money and you want to buy it, he said, I'll sell it to you. So I was very stoked about that. And I said, yeah, let's do it. I think I paid $400 for it. I'm gonna have to double check. I might have paid $200 for it. No, that is what it is. That's what it was. I paid $200 for it. And, but then the registration was back a couple years, so I had to pay $200 more to register it. So total, before I even got anything out of it, I had spent $400 on this 2000, I think it was a 2001 Honda Shadow 750. Loaded it in my truck, drove back to my house, and then I think that day I was pretty set on like, I'm gonna start recording this. I'm gonna record the progress, like trying to build this thing. And I remember specifically trying really hard to make a YouTube thumbnail and kind of studying like what colors for the fonts and all the things like this, and like where it was placed and stuff, and trying to make things like curious for people. I think the title was, or on the thumbnail it said, will it work? With a question mark, which was actually a cool idea. I was actually trying, but I think that at the time I really underestimated the labor that would go into all the filming and things like that, all the editing. For example, right now I'm feeling idea that I don't want to leave the camera in one exact spot the entire video. Isn't that kind of boring? Like, at least you can look around right now, right? Like, at least I'm not sitting, it's not like, if you're doing, I guess, like a talking video where you're just talking to the camera, then it makes sense. But if you're moving around doing stuff like I am, I don't know. Having the camera in multiple positions seems like more fun to me. And I'm wearing the microphone right now, so hopefully you guys can hear everything that's going on, even if you can't necessarily see what my hands are doing. But I could pan around and show you some things that are in the garage, like the stuff on the shelf right next to you. All my little things that I've been collecting. And the only clue that the guy gave me was it just stopped working. So I thought, okay, probably a battery. Obviously, the battery has to be dead by now. Put a battery in it. And all the lights lit up. Everything seemed like it was all responding the way it should. Tried to start it, wouldn't start. So I said, okay, obviously it's the carbs that need to be cleaned. If it's been sitting for any amount of time, which it had been. So I cleaned out the carbs, got it all squared away, got it started, and it actually ran. I confirmed my suspicions that with most bikes, it's usually just something simple like carb cleaning, and I noticed that there was some kind of knocking coming from the engine. Yeah, engine was knocking. It wasn't like a crazy knock, but it was definitely increasing along with the acceleration. So as I gave it more throttle, it was going along with it. So I said, okay, it has to be related to the engine, obviously. And I looked closer because there was an oil leak, and at the rear of the engine, where it connected, it was missing the rear engine mount, and where like slightly below it, it had a cracked, like the head was cracked. So I was like, okay, that's like definitely why it's running like that. And I went ahead and ordered a new engine. I got this engine from eBay. I think I paid like $400 more for it or something like that. And along with praying mantises, there were just a ton of black widows in my garage. It's fun. There you go, buddy. So yeah, I got a new engine for it. It was a new used engine with pretty low mileage, and I took the old engine out, and I'm not sure what exactly the bearing is called, but it's the bearing that is between the crankshaft and I guess the connecting rod, piston rod. I don't know the technical term for it, I can't remember, but I think it's called a sleeve bearing, and it goes around the crankshaft. And basically I looked, and that one of the back piston had some play in it. I could feel some play because I ordered the engine, and then I got the old engine out, took it all apart to see what was up with it, and that's what was the piston was able to move around. I could tell that bearing was shot. So I'm guessing what happened was maybe it was low on oil, and then that caused that bearing to fail or something. That's my guess. I don't know. I think I'd spent another $400 on an engine, and then the person that had advertised it said it was good working condition, all this and that. When I got the engine, the bottom front engine mount was completely cracked, and it's cast aluminum, so that's not like the easiest thing to weld, I don't think. I was prepared to try and fix it, but I told them like, hey, is there any way I could get some money off, because I'm either going to have to do this myself, which at the time I think I just barely got a TIG welder, and I still don't know how to weld aluminum. I definitely don't know how to weld cast aluminum. So I said, is there any way I could get some money back or send this engine back? Because, you know, I looked through the whole listing again to make sure I didn't miss it, and there was nothing that said the engine was cracked right there. And to be fair, I mean, it wasn't like super obvious, but when you look at it, like, you can clearly see there's a crack. And I was like, hey dude, I sent them pictures of it and stuff. They said, hey, just keep it and we'll give you a partial refund. I said, okay, because I figured I could spend, you know, maybe $100 to go get it welded somewhere. So I can't remember how much they gave me back. I think it might have been like $100, which, to be fair, I mean, I sell on eBay as well. Like, I try and make sure everything, all the damage is completely visible so that stuff like that doesn't happen. So I ended up getting that engine, I think, for $300. These are all just guesses because, like I said, this is a long time ago. And I ended up putting it in the bike, and it was usable besides that bottom engine mount being cracked. I ended up just putting the engine in there, and I started modifying it. I took off all the stock parts that I wasn't going to use, like the gas tank, the rear fender, just basically all the little parts that I wasn't going to use. And my initial plan for the bike was to make it into an off-road bike. So I bought some kind of cheaper reservoir shocks, and let's see, I took off the fork covers. I put a different headlight on it. I put some, like, I made some different like style handlebars for it. If I have any pictures of it, which I'm sure I do, I'll put it in right here as I'm talking about the junk. But yeah, I put all that stuff on there and was riding it around like that. I got contacted by my friend David, and David lives up in the mountains where it's like you have to be like ready when you go up his driveway. It's like not paved at all. It's like pretty crazy trying to get around that area. And yeah, he's like, hey, I don't really use this bike anymore because it had been sitting, I think, for some years, and it wasn't really practical for him. And he was like, what do you think about doing a trade for the Honda Shadow? And I had just really started digging into it. I made a gas tank for it because if you've seen the Honda Shadow 750s, it's got kind of a weird tubular square tube backbone. I don't know why I'd talk like that. I'll put a picture of it in right here. But it's not like a standard gas tank where you can just, or a backbone where you can just throw any gas tank on it. It's like a rectangular, or yeah, it's like a rectangle shape. And so I had started doing stuff like that to it. And he was like, hey, what do you think about trading? And he had this, the Ultima 127. And I was like, dude, that seems like you're giving me a really good deal. Like, are you sure? And he was like, yeah, dude, like he didn't want it anymore. And I was stoked. I was like, man, this is sick. Because I had never had anything that was close to an American bike, if you would consider this a Harley. I don't know if I consider it a Harley. I'm sure a lot of people would say no, they wouldn't.
But I am telling you right now, that mother back there is not real.
But I'd never had like basically this style engine where it's the engine and then the transmission separate. All my bikes have been Japanese bikes, I think, and they've all been integrated, and it's like a nightmare. If something happens in the transmission, it's like, oh my gosh, like pull the whole engine out. Like then you're like getting all into the crazy, like it's just a much bigger of a mess in my opinion. Whereas at least if the engine blows or the transmission goes out or something, it's not that big of a deal to literally pop out like 5 bolts and put in a new one. And you know, it's more than that, but I'd never had a bike like this before, and so I was very excited about it. And also, this thing is 127 CI. I think that's cubic inch. And so I think that's like 2,089 cc's. You could double check me on that. I have no idea if I'm right, but that to me seems like quite a bit of cc's. Yeah, I thought, dang, that thing is probably really fast, and it is very fast. I said, dude, if you're down, I'm totally down, because I like the Honda Shadow 750, but to me it was like a given. Like I could get one of those anytime, whereas this bike, even though it wasn't really the style that oh man, that sucks. It's no good. Probably ruined that seat. Just bought this seat for $20, and then my dumb and I think to myself, mind decided, okay, I'll put this other seat on top of it, and there's this big old metal bracket on there. And now look, there's like a nice little indentation for my playing myself again. You see how that works? Constantly. It's like I'm fighting against myself all day long. That reminds me of a verse, a Bible verse that I'm going to insert right here. And it talks about that exact kind of thing, about wanting to do stuff and then you just don't do it. And then it's like, why? Anyways, yeah, so I said, for sure, dude, if you're down to do this, I'm down, let's trade. and I drove my truck up to his house with the Honda Shadow 750 in it. He loaded up into, I think it was his truck, his bike. This thing was pretty fun to ride. I rode it around for maybe, I think I got it done or rideable when my son was born. I think I rode it around for about 6 months. Had all sorts of issues with it the entire time, and but I loved it. It was very fun to ride. It was so fast. I've never been so scared on a motorcycle as when I was riding this thing. It was so sensitive, like barely hit the gas, and it would just like, I think it's because of the amount of power and the way that the angle of the forks and everything, and it would just like, it wanted to do a wheelie the whole time, which was very fun. One day, I think I was getting my taxes done. I had just finished up, turned out of the parking lot, started going up the street and gave it a good amount of gas like I normally did. And the back end just whipped out and I didn't know what had happened, but basically like went left, right, something happened. I flipped off the bike slid and everything. Luckily the cars behind me stopped. I didn't really know what had happened. I got up, my adrenaline was pumping real hard, obviously. And I realized that the back wheel was like at a 45-degree angle in the frame. And I was like, wait a minute, how's that happening? And I looked and the axle had broken. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's because of, watch me drop this thing. I'm not sure if it's because of the type of metal that was used when it was cast, or if it's just the raw power of 127 CI that the Ultima El Bruto produces. It's probably because of the power, I would guess, because this thing is a beast. This thing is very frightening. But I'm not sure if it's because of the power or what, but it broke the rear axle. And it wasn't like right in the middle either. It was more like off to the side, like right here. Just snapped it completely. The tire was like that or something, or maybe this way. And I was trying to pick up the bike. I was standing on the side I stood it up and then I was trying to push it and I was like looking at the wheel, and eventually I had to just drag it over to the side of the road. And luckily I was like in the first lane, so like I only had to drag it maybe like 10 feet or so, but it was a really, if you look at the forks on this bike, it was like not an easy thing to do. And this engine is considerably, probably heavier than a stock Evo engine, I would guess. But yeah, I was all banged up, scraped up, dragged the bike over, called my wife and was like, hey, I wrecked the bike. And she, of course, thought I was joking because I lie and joke around all the time, just joshing around, you know. Yeah, I said, please come pick me up. I'm not joking this time. And she picked me up and called and got my bike towed. My wife came and picked me up and got the bike home with the tow truck. It came back. It had fallen on its side. And of course, the guy was like, he made me sign something before he towed it saying, oh, it's not responsible if it falls over. And of course, it fell over. It was pretty messed up. The obviously the rear axle needed to be replaced. And I didn't have a lot of information on what kind of a bike it was because it was a special construction. So I did not know like what frame it was. I knew the engine, but that was it. And weirdly enough, I actually ran into the guy that built this bike like maybe I think 20 years ago. He built it for some guy. That guy traded it into a dealership, and then my buddy David went and found it at the dealership and got it, and then traded me. I thought first the forks were bent, but then after looking at it more, I think that the neck was actually tweaked a little bit. So I thought, like, I have a frame jig, but it's not like anything crazy. It's the Chop Source frame jig. Not saying anything bad about Chop Source, but it's not really the best one or the best kit that they have, and I don't have money to be spending on that right now. So my idea was time to get a new frame, which is what I ended up doing. I got a single down tube frame and got it on from I think OfferUp or something, and yeah, started working on it. I put the forks on there and it looks like the forks are straight. Working from the back so far on what I've done to this thing. And this frame is now obsolete. They don't make this frame anymore. So if I need to get anything for it, then hopefully I can find parts for it. I've already struggled with this thing quite a bit. So for the first thing I did was mangled this engine in here. Mangled it and wrangled it.
And when he says jeans, he means Wrangler.
Got this thing in there, and at the time my back was really messed up, so I had to do all this weird stuff to get it in there. It was pretty hard, but got the engine in there. I know that can't really move, and then I had the transmission. There's this little tab right here on the bottom for this bolt. Let me get the camera underneath there. You can just see it. Nice. So this bolt right here, it was not lining up, so I had to notch out this tab. The camera acting all weird. Let me just take it up here. This is bothering me. So yeah, had to notch out this tab. And then also the issue that I was having was this frame is set up for a 200 tire. 200. And right now I have a 180 in it because I thought, okay, I'd like for it to be a little more narrow. And so I believe that the transmission and the engine are offset a certain amount to compensate for a 200 tire. But since I'm not using a 200 tire, I have to now adjust where the transmission is lining up so that the sprocket will hit this sprocket dead on, which is what I think it is at now. I think it's pretty dang close. Whenever I have it jacked up, it does look really close. It might be off just a hair. But part of the equation was trying to figure all this stuff out because I didn't have, it's not like where I could just look online and say, hey, what rear tire goes on? How do I swap this out on this soft tail? You know, there's not any instructions online because this frame is not like, there's not a whole ton of information. There's only one website I could find info out about this frame. Anyways, basically I got the engine in there where it had to be, and then I had to get the rear wheel centered, not necessarily in the frame, well, not in this rear section, because as you can see, it's offset a little bit to, I believe, compensate for the chain being there. Because normally if it was a 200, I think the chain would probably be about right there, which is, I don't know. Anyways, I had to make sure that this rear wheel was in the middle of essentially the backbone, which is what I think I've done, or pretty dang close. And then now that these two, the engine and the wheel are aligned, I got the transmission in there, and I had to get a sprocket, a specific sprocket, to, I think it's a 0 offset or 1/2 inch offset sprocket, so it would line up perfectly with this sprocket, which is also dished out a little bit so that the chain clears the tire. So it's just like kind of a crazy puzzle that I've had to figure out. I believe right now I have the engine where it should be. I had to make a custom transmission plate to get this transmission to be exactly where it should be. I made these kind of weird little Z-bars just so I can move the bike around. Got the forks on there. temporarily got these two lights on here. There's just an idea. I'm kind of thinking of going with everything kind of square because of the gas tank that I made for it. And I also made this, I started making this oil tank that will sit on there or something like that. And right now, what I'm just kind of trying to figure out is what size fittings I need for the oil lines. So these oil lines are, I think they're 3/8. The thing is all worn off. But yeah, it's 3/8 of an inch. So I need to figure out whatever AN fittings go to these for the oil tank, because I wanted to do like the AN fittings where it kind of screws in there, and I could put the braided steel lines or something like that. But I'm not sure exactly how that works. I'm gonna look more into how these AN fittings work, as far as like, I don't know if it's like an AN4 and then it's a size 3/8, or if it's AN6 size 3/8, or how exactly that works. So I'm gonna look more into that so I can order the correct fittings for this thing. And yeah, I think that's gonna be the next step, is to get the oil tank squared away. And then I have plans for the rear fender, and yeah, sissy bar and things like that. But I think I need to get this all figured out first before getting into that, because where this oil tank goes is going to dictate what goes on back behind here with the rear fender and whatever I decide to do with that. I'd like to integrate the ignition maybe into the oil tank, like maybe the key ignition and the starter button and maybe something like that. Or do something cool with it, because I don't really want to just make it a plain tank. I'd rather do something kind of sick. Got my starter with my little, I don't know what this is, little doohickey thing to start it. If you've seen the Prism Supply one, it looks about 1000% cleaner than mine, but yeah, made this little manual push button start for the starter. I've got this got that oil tank like that. I hopefully gave it enough clearance. It looks good. My main concern is the thickness of steel that I use to make this. I don't know if that's going to be enough. My thought is I'm going to use these trim pieces, little pieces of round steel that I'm going to be, move this out of the way. I'm going to be welding all along all the seams on this tank to mold it. And I have them all cut out. I'm going to weld them all, and it's all going to be connected. But my thought is that would add to like the structural integrity of it. And I plan on doing like a rubber mount for this gas tank on the bottom somewhere. So I'm thinking if I were to have these trim pieces going along all the seams like this, it would almost be like a skeleton for it. And I'll have the pieces going down, wherever the rubber mounts are, I'll have them connect from the outside piece here somewhere inward to that rubber piece. And that way, I think the stress and all the vibration and stuff will be transferred to essentially all the pieces on the outside, not necessarily just straight onto this semi thin metal. And the same thought goes here on the oil tank. My thought was I'm going to do the same thing and put trim all along here on all these lines like this. And that way it'll kind of hopefully add to the strength of the whole thing. And also it'll look cool, and also I'll mold it so it'll look nice, and when I paint it, it'll look cool. And yeah, I don't know, I thought maybe that would work, and I don't know how thick normally the steel is for something like an oil tank, but like the gas tank feels pretty solid to me. It doesn't seem like it would bend, but who knows, this thing does vibrate quite a bit. And my thought is, okay, first video, you're going to turn it on and rip the oil tank and the gas tank wide open. So if that happens, that'll be a good video for you guys, or it'll be the end of the channel. I got to get this thing out of the garage so that I can get some better video of it for you guys. Also, it's kind of fun to see all the bikes out, all the chaos. Something kind of cool to point out. At one point, I got a bunch of parts. My buddy Matt, he passed away on a ride about 6 years ago, and his parents, they gave me a bunch of parts, and I didn't really know what to do with a lot of them. So some of them I hung up on the wall, and this is one of them. And here's another one, Harley Davidson, I'm guessing kicker. And they've been on my wall for a while. I got the shovel head. I didn't realize those parts actually will work on that. So it's kind of cool, little bits and pieces of my buddy Matt, and his memory will continue on all the rides and adventures and whatnot. So this is the Ultima 127. This is the state that it's in right now. It's covered in yellow tape from all the little pieces of trim that I'm going to be putting on there that were being mocked up. Yeah, as you can see, I definitely probably need a longer kickstand. This thing's leaning a little too much. But yep, this is actually what the next project is going to be mainly about. Not the CB750, not the Honda Shadow, not the EX500, not the Shovelhead, not the XS650, not the Suzuki Savage. It's going to be this one. This is the one that I need to finish next. So the plans are, the front end is pretty much squared away, besides little bits and pieces with the brakes and stuff. But for the most part, it's all done. I have to put on some things with the forks and things like that, but that's not really necessary to start it. The main goal is to get it started right now. I haven't started it in quite a while. So I made this gas tank. Bottom doesn't look good, don't look at it. The top looks cool. Check it out. Let me take all this tape off. So I don't want to give up on it, and it actually is like probably 75% done, so I'm not even considering giving up on it. It's just a little rusty, but yeah, that's a cool pic. The chopper, I'll probably use that as a thumbnail. The coffin chop, Ultima 127. I haven't decided on an exact theme for this bike yet, but obviously if I'm going with this coffin tank that I've made, then it's going to be kind of a haunted bike, because this bike is obviously being built back from the dead. Build back better. I think that's what Biden meant when he said that, right?
Together we can fix this. Let's build back better.
Okay, so look, this is what I've done. I've got this fuel bung. I got this piece of steel, obviously measured it, blah, 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 to the size I needed, cut it out, and then just welded this on here with these beautiful welds. You see? That's why you gotta do molding on all your bikes, right, guys? So yeah, I welded it all up. This is my first gas tank I've ever attempted to make completely from scratch. Welded up all the little panels here, and then on the bottom, had to do some jimmy rigging here. I don't know what that means, if that's a real phrase anymore. I had to make this tube. I took a flat piece of steel, put it on a clamped it to a piece of tube that was like a little bit bigger than the backbone, and then just wrapped it around it with some clamping and stuff and grunting and made it work, and then cut it out and welded it to the bottom panels. So right now the plan is I'm gonna make some sort of bungs, like maybe right here, and then a couple more at the bottom. And I'm gonna make it some kind of rubber mounted isolating bungs. However that works, I will figure it out. And like I said, I have trim pieces that I'm going to put all along here, all the way around all the seams, just to double check and make sure that everything's all good. And then pressure test it again once that's all done, and then get the bungs made. I also, again, playing myself, drilled out these holes for the other tank that I was going to use. I did it off center just to make it challenging to myself. So I will either, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is put some bungs in here, some top hat bungs, and pound them down so they're like semi close to being basically flush with this. And then I'll leave these on here as an option to put a different tank on there at some point in the future. Or maybe I'll just weld them up, who knows. So the plan is get the tank all situated, finished, get the oil tank, same thing. It's got these rubber mount. I'm assuming these are for the oil tank because like I said, I can't find out any information about this dang frame. I got this frame for I think $500, pretty good deal. I'll get the oil tank all situated, get that squared away and mounted with these rubber mounts, and then I'm thinking I'll probably add some, there's 2 tabs right here. I think that's for the fender. I might modify that and make it, or add additional tabs for another mount for the oil tank, because I don't want to obviously just have 2 right here in the front. I got to have 2 in the back. I have a small anti-gravity battery that is going to go down here, and I'm going to make a little plate for it to mount down here, so that'll be out of the way. And then I have the starter, and like I said, I have a lot of different spacers for this primary spacer. I think I have it set up right now so I don't even need a spacer. And if I do need one, it might just be a very thin one. So I think I have a good selection of those spacers that I could mess with. And if not, not a big deal to just get another spacer. Yeah. That is going to be it for this video, guys. I know this is not a conventional video. Make sure this camera is even still on. Yep. I know this is not a regular video, but I'm trying to mix things up and let you guys know all the different projects that I'm gonna be working on. In order, I'm going to be working on the Ultima, and then as I go along, I'm gonna be looking for parts for the CB750 and the shovel head. The shovel head, I think I'm gonna turn into like a long fork, maybe swing arm chopper. And then for the CB750, I think I'll probably do like a 70s style chopper. Ultimately, I'd like to do a trike if I can find a Servi car axle. That's what I'll do. So that's probably, I'd probably do like a rigid frame on the CB750 and then just keep an eye out for a Cervicar axle or some trike axle. I'd like to ultimately make it into a trike, the family vehicle. So yeah, that's pretty much it. As far as the swap vlogs go, I'm going to continue making them. I still have some footage of me buying some miscellaneous small things here and there. I haven't bought anything crazy recently, but I know the swap meet is still planning on closing on November 30th. So I talked to the owner, and he said he's looking at another property and doing a walkthrough. So hopefully that goes through and they have another property open up. That'd be cool. But in the meantime, I'm going to be mainly making content around building the Ultima. Maybe do some videos on the Roadstar, because I need to make a new seat for that pretty soon. The old seat's starting to fall apart, and I can show you guys what's under the seat and where I hid all the components for that. And then yeah, I'm gonna just be, I don't know, making videos mainly about the Ultima and the build with that, and just some swap vlog stuff. But thanks for subscribing, guys. Thanks for all the likes on the videos. Thanks for any comments that you guys leave. All that stuff helps, I don't know, show people out there that I exist. And yeah, it really helps me out. So I appreciate all that stuff, guys. Thanks for watching again. And if you want to watch another video that is really beneficial for things that you might be going through in your life right now, then you should probably watch a video that's right here. And yeah, check it out.
But I am telling